Hey guys, my name's Skippy from Geek Hammer Gaming, and I'm back with yet another faction focus review. Today we were talking about one of my favorite factions. I played them very competitively last year, and we're talking about, of course, the Tau, the upstart aliens who are trying to make a name for themselves in the galaxy by spreading the word of the greater good. They are a shooting faction who pride themselves on the ways of war and the elegance and grace that it entails. They are a hard hitting army with big mech suits, and it's so much fun to play them. They're one of my favorites, and I can't wait to talk about them, see what their rules are, because they they just hold a special place in my heart, my guys. So let's get into it. So let's look at their army rules. First thing, for the greater good. If your army faction is Tau Empire, then in your shooting phase, units from your army can work in pairs to help each other target specific enemy units. Okay, so we're working in pairs. We got two guys who are going to be doing something together, two units. When they do this, one unit is the observer unit and the other unit is the guided unit. So we have an observer and a guide. Getting complicated already, but we'll see how it goes. The enemy they are targeting is called the spotted unit. All right, so already we have an observer unit and a guided unit. Those are my units. And then we have a spotted unit, which is the enemy unit. All right, let's see how we make this work. It's a big block of text for this. Each time you select this enemy to shoot, if it is not an observer unit, it can use this ability. So don't pick an observer to also be a guided unit. If it does, select one other friendly unit with this ability that is also eligible to shoot, excluding fortification, battle shock, and observer units. So that's important. So I can't use a battle shock unit to benefit from this ability. Until the end of the phase, this unit is considered a guided unit, and that friendly unit is considered an observer unit. Then select one enemy unit that is visible to both your units to be the spotted unit. So both your units have to see the enemy. One is guided and one is observer. All right, what do we get? Until the end of the phase, each time a model in a guided unit makes an attack that targets their spotted unit, improve the ballistic skill characteristic of that attack by 1. And if the observer unit has the marker light keyword, the attack ignores cover ability. Wow. So it's a lot of work to get that working, but if I do, half my units are going to get +1 to hit. And if I have marker lights, I'm ignoring cover. That is really good. That is great. Just +1 to hit is great. Like, marker lights in the last edition were great, and being able to do this across the army, like half the army gets +1 to hit, that's great. As long as I can make everyone do their thing. There's another bullet point here, though. Each time a model in a guided unit makes an attack that does not target their spotted unit, worsen the ballistic skill characteristic by the attack by 1. Ooh. Play by their rules, or you get -1 to hit. Overall, I like the rule. It's way more complicated than I thought they would do in this edition, where they're trying to take out the complication. But in execution, it'll be simple: guide, observer, shoot, and that's what you got to do. So I like it. +1 to hit. Marker lights just ignore cover now. Overall, good set of rules. I'm going to have to play with it for a little bit to get used to it. All right, so the detachment rule is Cayune. Why do we get Cayune for? Okay, so for those who don't know, I have a faithfully painted Farsight army. Starting with Cayune means I gotta be patient. I'm not about patience. I'm about smashing the enemy as quickly as I can, and then standing on the objectives over the dead corpses. So anyway, Cayune. This is the slow mantra of battle, as opposed to the fast one, which is Manka. So from the third battle round onwards, all ranged weapons equipped by Tau Empire models from your army have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. That's pretty good. While a unit is guided unit, see for the greater good, weapons in that unit instead have Sustained Hits 2 ability. Ooh, oh, that's good. So one of the army rules they had currently in 9th edition is they would get exploding 6s, then 5s, then 4s on battle rounds 3, 4, and 5 respectively. Now you just get Sustained Hits 1 army-wide. Already good. Exploding 6s are great. But if you're guided, not only are you getting +1 to hit, ignoring cover if your observer has marker lights, but you're also getting Sustained Hits 2. Man, when that crisis bomb comes in with a bunch of burst cannons, they're just going to mow people down with all the extra hits. I love it. Oh, I can't wait to see what the Manka one is. All right, guys, let's look at some data sheets. So first thing we're going to look at is some Pathfinders. This This is very interesting for them to start with. They didn't start with the troops, they started with the Pathfinder. So those who don't know, this is your fast attack support unit. So they have a pregame scout move, but also they're a marker light unit. They all have marker lights on them. So not only are they going to be helping you ignore cover, but they have some other things to help you out with spotting units. So let's go over it. So 7-inch move, pretty good. I like that they're fast. I'm wondering, I'm assuming that the Fire Warriors and your troops are going to be 6-inch and these guys are going to be 7 because they're fast and they have lighter armor. I have a 4-up. Wait. Oh. T3 with a 4-up save. They had a 5-up last edition. They had a 5-up armor. I don't think the Fire Warriors are going to get a 3-up, but them having a 4-up is a big deal. That's great for them. So T3, 4-up armor save, 1 wound, leadership 7, objective control 1. So far, great. Core, Scout 7-inch, so that's a 7-inch pregame move for the Greater Good faction. Okay, target uploaded. Once per turn when using the Greater Good ability, you can select this unit to be an observer unit for a second time. When doing so, you can change which enemy unit is the unit's spotted unit. That is great. So 1 unit of Pathfinder supports 2 units, so you don't have to expose nearly as many units to fire, because one of the downsides of this, of getting the extra pluses to hit for some of your units, is you have to have another unit jumping out to support them because they have to have visual line of sight. So, but 1 Pathfinder will do 2. So, you know, you're really trading a lot, but I mean, it's visual line of sight table wide. They didn't have a range restriction, so put them all the way in the back. As long as they have line of sight to their target, good to go. War gear abilities. Now, this is something they mentioned in the article. Drones are no longer models. They'll be used as tokens for the unit, so you know what upgrades they have, but the drones will be like upgrades, like med packs or comms arrays for other units. So, Grav Inhibitor Drone. Subtract 2 from the charge rolls made for any enemy unit that declares the charge against the bearer's unit. This is not cumulative with any other reductions to that charge roll. And at least they remember to put that in after the last Tau book. That was ridiculous. So, cool. So if you have a Grav Inhibitor Drone, -2 to charge them. Already great. Pulse Accelerator Drone. Add 6 inches to the range of characteristic of pulse carbines equipped by models in the bearer's unit. That is also really good because their pulse carbine is 20 inches in this one instead of 18. So you're getting 26 inches out of a pulse carbine. That means if you actually want to lay down some anti-infantry fire and have to get a little closer, you don't have to get as close as you want to with the extra 6 inches. Another good rule. Recon Drone. The bearer's equipped with 1 drone burst cannon, and the bearer's unit has the Infiltrator's ability. That's a good one, because Infiltrators is just set up in the midfield, if I remember right. It should be the same as 9th edition, where it's like 9 inches away from enemy deployment zone and enemy units. So the Recon Drone is the big drone, the tall one with the big burst cannon on it. So the Recon Drone gets you the burst cannon weapon in the unit, which is cool. But it also gets you Infiltrators. So that's all of a sudden, with 1 drone edition, you get to play the Infiltrate game as opposed to Scout. When you deploy them, you just deploy them in the midfield. Scouts have to deploy in your deployment zone and then get a 7-inch move. Well, these get a move. So that's a good set of drone upgrades for them. Like, I'm wondering if you're going to be still restricted to just 2. Well, I think you can take all 3 in Pathfinders, so it'd be interesting to see which ones get taken. I personally would take the Grav Inhibitor and the Recon Drone because -2 to charge me and the ability to start up the field is great for them, especially when they're spotting multiple units. They'll take cover, they'll get a high ground, so they get extra AP, extra 6-inch range, so you shoot things like in the back, just anti-infantry stuff, and then they're doing their job. So already a big fan. Let's look at their weapons. So I'm going to start a little out of order and start with their Pulse Carbine because every guy is equipped with a Pulse Carbine and a marker light. So Pulse Carbine is a 20-inch range gun with 2 attacks hitting on 4s. String 5, AP 0, 1 damage. So that is pretty good overall. String 5 is nice. AP 0 is a little rough, but I mean, you're putting some saves on people. So you're wounding orcs on 4s. You're wounding marines on 3s. Feels good. I like that Tau have a higher strength on their base guns than everyone else, and you will see more of that in just a minute. After that, they have a couple other weapons. So the drone burst cannon that comes with the Recon Drone that gives them Infiltrators is 18-inch range, 4 attacks, hitting on 5, strength 5, AP0, 1 damage. So drones usually have a hitting on 5s as compared to 4s, so that's just something that they do. But this gives me an idea of what the burst cannon is going to look like with 4 attacks at string 5 AP0 for the crisis suits. It should be the same profile. It might be a different profile. They might add an extra AP. They might add extra shots for the crisis suits. Who knows? But this is a good baseline to know that it's pretty much the same as what it was before, just 4 attacks instead of 6. And we'll see how that goes. So the rest of these weapons are specialty weapons that they could take. And I think it's 2 out of 10 can take special weapons, and I think they can take multiple of the same one. So the ion rifle is a 30-inch range gun. It has 2 modes, a standard and an overcharge. So they're both heavy, hitting on 5's base, so that thing where you get stuck on 4s because only +1 to hit. But the overcharge has hazardous, so you can hurt yourself. So both of them are 3 attacks, hitting on 5s. The standard is strength 7 -1, 1 damage. The overcharge is strength 8 -2, 2 damage. That's Imperial Plasma again, but that is a great profile, especially if you're taking out Marines. Like you would take the overcharge to give you 3 shots at hitting on 8 or strength 8 -2, 2 damage. That's great. The rail rifle has devastating wounds and heavy. So rail rifle, it usually has the equivalent of devastating wounds where it can do mortal wounds, so it still keeps that. 1 shot, 1 opportunity, hitting on 5, strength 10, -4, 3 damage. That is a hell of a shot. I personally like the ion rifle because it's a little bit more flexible, especially against, like, you know, you actually have a profile that's still good against hordes instead of 1 big shot. So I personally am a bigger fan of the ion over the rail rifle, but we'll see how the addition turns out. And then we have the semi-automatic grenade launcher. This is a addition they put in the Kill Team upgrade box that they came out with for them. So it's an EMP. So they have 2 modes. They have an EMP launcher and they have a fusion launcher. You have to choose one for the grenade launcher. So both sound interesting. So the EMP is anti-vehicle 4+. So 4s to wound are critical wounds. So they just auto wound. And devastating wounds. So 6s to wound do mortal wounds. Feels good. Oh, does that stack? Oh, I think that stacks where if you get a 4+, it's just devastating wounds, go straight to mortals. Ooh. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, but don't quote me on that. So for the EMP, it's 1 shot hitting on 4, strength 3, AP0, 1 damage. So it's a crap gun unless you're shooting at a tank. Then all of a sudden, on a wound of a 4+, you're just doing a mortal wound. So seems pretty good. And then the semi-automatic grenade launcher fusion. The fusion shot. 1 attack hitting on 4s. Strength 6 -1, 3 damage. Also pretty good. I like it. Decent profile. I still am a fan of the ion rifle just because it has better versatility, but you know, all these weapons seem all right. And then the close combat weapon hitting on 5, strength 3, AP0, 1 damage. Tower not known for their combat. And it's still a problem that they have, and I don't know if that's ever going to get fixed. We'll see what happens with their book next year. Maybe they'll get a new combat model of some sort. Anything. Come on. Give me something. All right. Let's look at the drones. So, like I said before, the drones are going to be counted as a token upgrade now instead of actually model that can take wounds. I liked how they handled it in 9th edition where the drones actually took wounds and you had a choice of taking it with them or someone else. They didn't count against leadership. Now they're just going to be a token upgrade for the unit just so you remember what abilities they have. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with my 50 shield drones, but that's 8th edition for you. So let's look at the Guardian drone. This is a model that the Fire Warriors and the Breachers can take. So each time a model makes a ranged attack that targets the bearer's unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. -1 to wound on a T3 model seems great. That's a lot of durability added to this unit. So I got to get building some of my Guardian drones. I only got like 1 built. I have a feeling I'm going to use a lot of them. Gun drone adds a weapon to the profile of the unit. So the weapon is twin pulse carbine. It's assault twin linked, 20-inch range. Hit 2 attacks hitting on 5, strength 5, AP0, 1 damage. So it's rerolling wounds. It's assault, so you can go fast, especially with like breachers and stuff. So it's just more like two more shots. I don't know how I feel about gun drones. Marker drones. The bear's unit has the marker light keyword. It can act as an observer unit for another unit, even if it advances this turn. Oh, that's cool. So you get to advance, still do the marker lights, and you get marker lights on your unit on top of that. So that's a big deal for certain units that will want to use that. Like the Pathfinders already have marker lights, but giving them the ability to advance and still marker or observe is good. I don't know who else would want this marker light. Like maybe a buff commander would want that, so he can advance up with his dudes. Especially once we get Monka, he can advance up with his dudes, give out marker light ability and observe for things, and still give out all his other buffs to his crisis suit retinue. So we'll see how that goes. Missile drone. You get a weapon that's a 30-inch range, 2 attacks, hitting on 5, strength 7, -2, 2 damage. I like the missile pod. Missile pod comes on a lot of different things, and I'm excited to use it. So the turret drone that the Fire Warriors can take, this is not a bad gun at all. Just got to get him hitting on 4s. That's all you got to do. So the shield drone is really cool. It adds 1 to the bearer's wound characteristic. This is a big deal for certain things, like, say, commanders. So single model units that could take shield drones, like commanders, will all of a sudden be +1 wound. If you take 2 shield drones, you're +2 wounds on the unit. That is super cool. Now, for multi-model units, I'm assuming the bearer will be the sergeant. But, so in a crisis suit unit, however, each model can take 2 drones. Currently, this is how it's done. So if I were to take 6 drones with that, then all of a sudden my crisis suits each have +2 wounds. That's an interesting way to handle it. I don't know how I feel about shield drones, depending on how many points they are, but that is a great ability to have, is just add wounds to stuff. Especially when you take it out of like certain categories. Like if you take a 4 wound model with a 5, all of a sudden their 2 damage guns have to do a 3rd shot to kill you instead of 2. I like it so far. So drones are interesting. I can't wait to see how they play out and how many points they cost. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see if any of these guns on the, like the missile drone or the gun drone, see any play at all. So let's look at some weapons now. Now they showed us some big bada boom weapons, all right? So first, the Pulse Blast Cannon, which is one of the guns you can take on the Storm Surge. This is the big knight level model that you can take in Tau. It's a giant walker. So it has 2 modes, Focus and Dispersed. Focus is a 24-inch range, 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 24. -6, 12 flat damage. Well, there's another gun that kills armigers in 1 shot. But you get 2 attacks. So if you're able to get through the knight with 2 of them, you kill a knight in 2 shots. That's an interesting one. Wow. Disperse is also a heavy weapon. Range 48 inches, so you have a little bit more range on this one. 6 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 10, -2, 4 damage. 4 damage is also a crazy profile. That's going to be taking a lot of those like mid-range strong like monsters, like the ones that are like the elite characters, like crisis suits level stuff that are like 4 to 5 wounds. Like that's a good gun against it. Now, the infamous Railgun. This gun saw a lot of play in 9th edition because of its ability to dish out mortal wounds and big damage and ignore invulns. So, as we know, ignoring invulns is probably not a thing other than devastating wounds. I'm assuming nothing's going to have a straight up ignore invulns, but getting that 6 to wound will get your Railgun to mortal wounds. So, 72-inch range. It's heavy and devastating wounds. 1 attack, 1 shot, 1 opportunity. I'm going to keep making that joke, by the way. Ballistic skill 4+, strength 20. -5. That's also a lot of AP, and D6 +6 damage. That's like 9 damage on average. 9 to 10. That's... Ooh. And this is the same gun that their name character Longstrike has also on his tank. Well, one of the ones he can take. So... feel pretty good about the Tau's anti-tank abilities. Like the hammerhead that carries this railgun usually has some sort of abilities to make it hit better. So usually when it has a marker light, it counts as extra marker lights currently. So I'm wondering if you have a marker light on something, it'll like ignore any other penalties like stealth or anything like that. I can't wait to see the profile on this guy. I love this weapon. It's so cool. Like look how gigantic that gun is. I like big guns and I cannot lie. All right, let's look at a stratagem. Combat embarkation. So Tau in 9th edition have a great stratagem that's used all the time where you, if you're in Monka, the aggressive strategy, you can advance 3 devilfish and get 3 units out if you're a Monka after it had moved or advanced. Like that's a big deal. Now let's see what the Kayun version is, because before it was put devilfish back in reserves, but now 1 CP when your opponent's charge phase just after an enemy unit declared a charge. So they declare a charge against you. Target 1 Tau Empire infantry unit from your army that was selected as one of the targets of that charge and 1 friendly transport. See where this is going. Your unit can embark within that transport. If it does, your opponent can select new targets for the charge. So, I get out of the way. So that's really big for things like breachers. Move up with the devilfish, get out, shoot the thing, and then like, oh, I'm going to charge you now. No, I'm just going to duck out of the way. Thank you. So the restrictions. Every model in your infantry unit must be within 3 inches of the transport, and there must be sufficient transport capacity to embark the entire unit. Totally fair. So I like this a lot. This is great for the Kayun strategy where it's like, I really want to hit you harder later, but my breacher's going to pop out now and try to take out a unit like on an objective. And then if you come up with something to charge me, you better shoot me, because if you charge me, I'm just going to hop back in this devilfish. And now you got to punch this tank. Seems great. So that is going to be it for me today, guys. I had a blast talking about Tau. I'm very curious to see their codex when it fully comes out. I want to see how crisis suits are out of this index. I want Monka to be a thing, but I'll have to wait. I'll have to be Kayun for now. Anyway, thank you guys for coming out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I'll catch you guys next time.